Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. So as you guys remember, or might remember, if you do watch this channel regularly, which I don't know how many of you there are, that I went to Florida about a few weeks ago and went on a cruise, and I went down to Disney World, World's Florida, right? Disney World. And I said to myself that bringing just the one lens, the 18-50 Sigma on my Fuji X-T4 was absolutely the right choice. I had made a great choice with simplifying the overall kit. And I remain that was factual. At the end of the video, I did say if there's one thing I can make it better, that could make the experience better, was just having a smaller camera in general that fit that kind of same narrative, that could do video and have a good range, kind of like that. Well, 18-50 is a 28-75, but something like that, a standard focal range, decent size sensor, and just compactness. If we just added compactness to the equation, I think we'd be good. And lo and behold, while I was on that trip, Canon announced what I think might be that camera. This is the box for the Canon V1. I've already unboxed it, so I'll save you all that nonsense. And this is the camera right here. This is the Canon V1. It's a power shot. It is kind of interesting in what they did, and if you look, it's a little bit thicker than a normal power shot. So let's address, first of all, the overall looks, feel, and vibe of this camera. If you're expecting it to be a G7X Mark III type size camera, it's not. Or maybe you're a Sony ZV-1 guy, it's not. It's thicker. Thicker such that it's noticeable. But what that does offer is that the grip is much more, I don't know, significant or acceptable. It kind of feels like a GX85 in some ways in my hand. And the reason for that, the reason why I bring up that camera is because this camera itself houses a larger sensor than standard point and shoots. Standard point and shoots have like the 1/2 sensor, or in the case of the ZV-1 or the RX100 series or the G7X Mark III, they have 1-inch sensors. This has a 1.4-inch sensor, which when they announced that, I thought, that's kind of weird, 1.4 inch. When I looked into it, what it essentially is a micro four thirds sensor, just not in the 4:3 aspect ratio. It is in the standard, was it 3:2? 3:2 aspect ratio. So this has approximately a 2x crop, just like a micro four thirds sensor. And what also attracted me to this camera was the lens that's in it. It has a 8.2, well, almost choked on my coffee. It is an 8.2 to 25.6 millimeter lens. It's quick math because I told you it's micro four thirds size-ish, or same 2x crop factor. 8.2 times 2 is 16.4, so it's a 16 to roughly 51 millimeter lens. 50 millimeter lens. Let's call it a 16-50. That's perfect. That gives you wide and that gives you tight. So I thought to myself, this is pretty interesting so far. The aperture on the lens, now this was somewhere I wish it was a little bit better, but I understand they had to make decisions. It's f2.8, but it is variable aperture to f4.5 as you zoom out. So as you go into that 50 millimeter range, or 25.6, you're going to have a 4.5 crop aperture. So 4.5 depth of field, it's like an f9, f8, f9, somewhere in there, depth of field at the 50 millimeters. That's not as compelling necessarily. So that is the one concern with this camera. But at 16 millimeters, and more so what I intend to use this for, it is f2.8. And why 16 millimeters is really, really interesting is because 16 millimeters is a great storytelling focal length, wide focal length for landscapes or just general scenery. And it's also great for vlogging. If you left it at 16, it's wide, it's awesome. A lot of back in the YouTube vlogging era, the 16-35 was kind of that lens that everybody wanted. And what's also interesting about 16 millimeters is that when you apply the stabilization, you still have a wide enough frame so you can vlog with it if you're going to do something like that, record video. So this camera, I believe, has optical stabilization in the lens, but it also has digital stabilization, enhanced digital stabilization. And I will do a video on that in the future. This is kind of just a first impressions video. But that was also very interesting to me. What also got my attention was on the top of this camera right here, there is this microphone. It kind of reminds me of the Sony ZV-1, or what camera was it that had like the Nokia sound system on top? I forget. Maybe it was Nikon. I don't know. But anyways, it has this microphone on top that has the ability to not even necessarily need to use a microphone like I'm using now. I have a Rode wireless mic set up right in front of me. So it makes it more portable, more pocketable, and it does a pretty good job from what I've seen in the review videos, and I'm interested to try this out as well. That's really cool. It also has something I think that's really important nowadays. I have it on my X-T4. I kind of look for it now in cameras, is this movie to stills switch. So you can quickly go from movie to stills. That's awesome. It remembers the settings in movie separately than it does stills. Also very, very great. It has a flip screen. Now, some people hate this, but since this is kind of a vlogging camera, I love it. That's great. What else? It has the same battery, the LP, what is it, E17 or something like that? Yes, this is the LP E17 battery. I think it's the same one they use in kind of some of their consumer cameras, like the Canon R8 and stuff like that. So that's cool. And the reason why that matters is because typically in point and shoots, they have even smaller batteries, and so that becomes a problem. Now, I don't know how this battery life is because this camera does some also other interesting things, like it shoots in 422 10-bit. It has a cooling fan. It shoots in C-Log 3, which candidly I would probably not use that much, but you see the cooling fan right there. It just has video capabilities that are far beyond the typical standard point and shoot. And so overall, my first impressions is like, this is almost the perfect travel camera. What it's missing, candidly, is a flash, so that sucks. And it doesn't have an EVF, which is kind of expected as it's a vlogging-centric camera. I'll have to get used to that. But the screen seems pretty good so far. And the lack of a flash, well, I'll have to just address that in some other fashion, potentially in the future. Other than that, the grip feels great. It's got a mic input right here. If you can see this, it's got a headphone. So you got mic and headphone. It's got USB-C charging. And it also has, I don't know if you call this a micro. Yeah, I think this is a micro HDMI port right there. So overall, I saw this camera at the price point of $800 or $900, whatever it was. I was like, I think I'm in. And I ended up picking it up on pre-order, which I typically don't do with cameras, because I could see this going with me on my trip next month to the Dominican Republic, because I've learned that that zoom lens, that standard focal length, is so critical. I'll probably use this for most photos. I might even take just this. Although I got to be honest, I do enjoy holding a proper camera. There's that. I have used this a little bit up at the point of making this video, just a couple test shots and a couple test clips. The autofocus seems insane. It seems like what I remember from the Canon R6 Mark II that I had for just a short period of time. And that's also really interesting to me. And so I got to play with this a bit more. I'll note also on top right here, there is custom functions built into the dial. I don't know if that's the case with all the point and shoots, but the fact that I can set up a C1, a C2, and C3 is awesome. And my only negative complaint so far, outside of like the flash and viewfinder, which I knew before I bought it, is a little thicker than your standard point and shoot camera. And so if you're expecting the thickness of a G7X Mark III or a ZV-1 or an RX100, this is not it. So yeah. So how about this? I'm on my Fuji X-T4 right now, which is obviously an APS-C size sensor, using the Sigma 18-50 f2.8. Why don't we flip over to the Canon V1 real quick and see what this looks like on this point and shoot. Okay, white balance correct. There we go. All right, this is the Canon on the widest setting, 16 millimeters f2.8. You can see just how wide it is. A little distortion going on. So if you put my hands out here, you get that wide angle effect. But if you're vlogging with something like this, I think it kind of makes sense. I just noticed, I didn't point this out in the last prior portion, that the microphone and headphone jack are on the opposite side of where the flip screen kicks out, which is opposite as Fuji and kind of a pain in the butt sometimes. Where if you flip this thing out right here, the mic and headphone jack are on this side, and so the cord is oftentimes blocking the screen. So there's that. So that's a cool decision that they made. Let's try to tighten this up a little bit. Like, what does this look like? Let's see. Come in. And this is kind of what it looks like. I mean, if I can change the framing a little bit. I feel like this looks pretty good. The autofocus is insane. It sticks to my eye like crazy good. And I'll tell you the first thing I thought when I took a picture with this was it was sticking to my son and my daughter's eye perfectly. And I thought to myself, yeah, it's a stark contrast to the Fuji. I actually shot sports with the Fuji the other day. And listen, it is skill over. You got to learn a technique. But I remember thinking to myself, that Canon I had, and certainly that Sony I had, was a lot better at autofocus in sports and that kind of thing. But nonetheless, I did make it work. But the autofocus is just really insane. I mean, it sticks to things. It's crazy. It focuses really well. I mean, that was like a zero contrast type thing right there. I wonder if it like will stick to my eye. It does. So it sticks to my eye. I have to turn eye focus off. As I'm putting this in front of the screen, it is prioritizing my eye big time. But I can make it, there we go, grab the object, and then right back to me. That kind of thing. So, yeah, there's that. Why don't we clip this thing on real quick? We leave it on this tripod. You guys hear me okay still? And we'll go wider. I'll go for a little vloggy test. Let me tighten this down a little bit more. All right. So I don't know how much I'll do this, but as I go on trips and stuff like that, I would love to bring just this camera with this little tripod right here. You guys can see around my house. Again, this picture shot on a Micro Four Thirds and cropped into oblivion. And I'm watching the white balance change and stuff on its own. I'm curious how this looks. Let's go outside for a second. So change lighting big time. Real bluish. Is it blown out? Now this thing has neutral density filters built in. And I don't even know if I've turned this on or not. Hold on, let me see if I can turn the neutral density filters on. All right, this is with the neutral density filters turned on. It has a 3-stop ND, not super crazy, so I'm either gonna have to grab the back wheel and ramp up my shutter speed or change my aperture, depending on what's more important to me here in a second. So I'm in the shadow right now. You guys can kind of see what's going on. And now it's getting super bright, right? So I have to just pump this thing way up so it can expose properly. But I don't know, does this look pretty good, guys? What do you think? Stabilization okay? I actually have the stabilization just on its like minimal settings. And I'm curious how it's doing. So that's kind of a little vlogging test with this thing, just at first glance. Anyways, guys, I'm excited to try this camera. I know this has been a bit long, and I'm looking forward to just taking this on travel. Again, it is a little thicker than a typical point and shoot, but it still fits in your pocket, and I think this is a great way to bring a camera with you on all the different little small things you do with your family, your kids, your wife, vacation, whatever, and capture those moments, record video, and have good photos on a sensor that's typically, you know, reserved for Micro Four Thirds cameras, just in a different shape. And so I think that's really cool. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. First impressions. I'm gonna try this out as my new vlogging / travel little camera with me, and I'm excited for it. I'll see you in the next one.